A lot of people had great ideas, was very smart, a lot of thinking, especially the world we're living with technology, climate change, all these big topics. But the question was actually, how can you distill those big ideas into stories people will love?
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thank you. How are you?
We're doing fantastic, especially after our last 2 hours together in an incredible workshop with an incredible turnout. But the most beautiful was these amazing stories. So number one, thank you for joining us, for leading this and facilitating this. For people who don't know who Jean-Baptiste, or as we call you with love, JB, who is JB?
Well, thank you for having me. So I'm JB. I'm a visual artist. I'm a creative consultant, and I'm the founder of a creative agency called Sketch & Co. And what we do, in short, we help people imagine, explain, inspire, make sense of complexity using visual creativity and visual storytelling.
That's incredible. And so you have been in this space for quite some time. How did this start? Did you always have this in your mind that I want to be in this space as you've been going through your university and of course post-university as well? What was that spark for you?
It's a good question. So actually my story goes back a little bit to earlier. So I'm coming from a family of artists. My mom is an amazing painter. So I drew a lot and I painted a lot when I was a kid. And probably like a lot of people, when I grew up, I thought I would do something more serious with my life than being a starry artist. So went to a business school, went to, starting to work in large corporates. I work in Paris, and then I moved to Australia, where I worked in consulting for about 10 years in large consultancy on transformation programs. And what happened is as a French guy, and as you can notice with a French accent, when I arrived in Australia, I found it actually quite hard to communicate because of my accent. So started to work on this big project, very complex topics, and yeah, for the first few years it got a bit tough and complicated. So actually one day I just decided to sort of go back to my roots and go back to my passion, and I just started to draw on projects rather than explaining things. And it sort of came naturally, and I started to draw on projects, on whiteboards, on the screens, on the large windows, and that's actually how it all started, because people started to notice my work, and actually I started to realize that was an amazing way for people to understand things better, to connect ideas, to imagine new things, which was actually really, really useful for people. For me, I love to do it, as a bit of a form of relaxation and meditation. So that was my passion. But I actually just found out that it could be my passion and something useful for work. So that's basically, was a great day for me, because that's what became the starting point of now this venture I've been running for a few years, which is basically all about combining visualizations with the world of innovation and transformation.
That's lovely. Usually, the biggest challenge is to identify when to take your hobby to an actual, let's say, revenue generating aspect and these things. Do you remember the moment you decided to take it forward and you have your agency, or even if you've done that before, open your agency?
It's a good question. It took a while. It took actually a while it was a long journey, because I thought at first it would only be a passion, and I wanted to keep it as a passion, something I love to do, on weekends, drawing just for my own pleasure, and that was great, and I love that. But actually, it sort of came as a gradual thing where I incorporated more and more of drawing into my work. And as I realized that clients were happy to, that was actually useful for them, because I realized a lot of people had great ideas, was very smart, a lot of thinking, especially the world we're living with technology, climate change, all these big topics. But the question was actually, how can you distill those big ideas into stories people will love to engage with and feel inspired by? So that's what actually was the point where I realized that I wanted to do something with it, and not only a passion, but turn it into something I do day to day. And now it's amazing, because it allows me to work on great projects and to help people visualize their ideas, whether it's a strategy, whether it's a program of work, whether it's internal communication. And I'm also able to connect with a lot of people who are interested in that topic in their own professional lives, like we did tonight with the Global Shapers, which was an amazing session with you guys, where we actually had this amazing, diverse group of people, from very, very different backgrounds, very different cultures. But what they all had in common is this idea that they thought that visual storytelling and visualization could help them as well to either think about their own career and their own journey, or think about working in a bit of a different way, or explain things to their clients. So that's really what motivates me, because I realize that it actually helps people, in their own journey.
That's incredible. And I know we've just stepped out of a session where with 30 plus diverse people in this space trying to sketch, and you shared with them a template and a way for them to express themselves, and it was their story. I want to double click into your story. Now, I know everyone sees the visual and how beautiful it looks. Has it always been, the happy kind of moments for you? Have there been challenges that you experienced as you were navigating this career as well? Where, as you were picking up these tricks, or perhaps you were naturally talented at it, what was that experience like? And if someone was to ask your stories, because we all experience our ups and our downs, what perhaps were some of those moments for you where you're really picking yourself up as well?
It's a really, really interesting question. So two thoughts. One is, I don't think there's such thing as being creatively talented. I don't think creativity is a talent. I think it's a skill, and like any skill, that's a skill you can learn and develop and grow if you're willing to do it. Now it comes back to the second part of your question, which are the things that I faced. I think the biggest one was my own fears, and to fight against my own fears, because of course, embracing a sort of creative career and launching your own venture comes with a lot of unknowns, and like any unknown, especially in that field, which is quite uncharted territories in terms of creative visualization. I think the thing I had to go through was actually letting go of my own fears about either the imposter syndrome, or not being able to succeed, or actually the fact that moving away from a traditional serious career. I think that was the biggest thing, because once that was removed, then I think the rest was just about basically doing what I can to embrace that career and make it my job.
I love that. And so we've talked about who JB is. We've touched on sort of the passion that you're working on, and we can clearly see that passion as you were kind of sharing that with everyone as well, in terms of how you're looking to cultivate this in people across, right? And this is something I personally love, which is leveling that playing field for everyone and helping them realize that actually you can do this too, right? Yeah. What does the future look like given where we are right now? And of course, you're in the space of trying to democratize and share that education with people around. Where do you feel this kind of work of sketching, visual storytelling is kind of going?
I think it's going to become more and more important, because I feel that of course the world we're in there's a lot of more and more AI is around us, being able to do a lot of things that our left side of the brain is able to do, which is analyzing data, doing some research, crafting reports. So I think in a lot of fields and sectors, the question for people will be around, okay, if AI is able to do part of my job, then as a human, what's left for me to bring as a value, and how can I bring even more value in what I'm doing? And I think creative thinking is a huge part of it. Not necessarily creativity in the sense of becoming all of us becoming artists, but in the sense of cultivating this idea that the creative visualization, creative storytelling are going to become super important skills for people to show their value to their own clients, or in the work we do, or how they communicate and engage with people in the work they do. So I really see that as something which, although it's been probably one of the most ancient form of communication, it's going to be something that's going to be clearly for the future.
And I I believe that through your workshops, or let's say when you work with people, usually they get the chance to, as we've done today, in terms of drawing what we are thinking about. And it's our first time for myself. It's me, my first time actually drawing and visually expressing a story or an idea. Is there a specific pattern that you notice that people, when they start for the first time and they develop their skills, or let's say the steps? That, yeah.
And you did great, by the way, on your drawing. Amazing. I love the satellite. You need to show the satellite. Yeah, it's a good question. Typically, what I see is it might feel a bit daunting to start with, especially because again, there is I think this thing about our own culture where being drawings and being an artist feels like it's not as serious as other type of areas. Therefore, it's a bit daunting. People don't really feel they should draw in a working context. Doesn't feel like it's the right space. So I think what I see is like a lot of people when they start drawing, they just start with basically drawing for themselves as a first step, which means grab a notebook, grab a sketchbook. During a meeting, you're sitting there, you listen to people, and people just start to instead of writing bullet points, they actually start to draw their idea or draw what they're hearing. Then there is when people are interested, then they go to either they explore the ability to capture ideas visually by, for example, listening to a live conversation, whether it's a TED Talk or something, and sort of practice the idea that not only they're able to draw, but also to listen and draw, which is another like a complementary skill set. And then you go to start to share with other people. And this is where, so there's this kind of this, it's a big step. That was certainly a big one for me when I started to draw at work. But this idea that then you start to share with your own teams, and during a project team meeting, you use a whiteboard like that and you start to draw an idea instead of explaining it. And then you share it with a broader group, whether it's could be your boss or your clients or external partners. And that's usually where ultimately it becomes something very powerful, because then you of course you can not only share your work, but you can also co-create with your clients or your partners picture together. And then that becomes even more powerful, because this is when drawing is not only a communication tool, it's actually a thinking tool, where two teams can come together, create a drawing together, and then that becomes a collective artwork, which usually can become something very powerful. For example, for when you do a proposal for a client, or if you do like a project plan, whatever the context, that's something usually very, very powerful.
The last part of our segment is a rapid fire. We've got Abdullah here, who's prepared those questions, and he's also been looking at it from what the audience has been asking, and he's going to throw them right at you. Ooh. So Abdullah, here we go.
I'm ready for you, Abdullah.
Thank you. So you delivered an amazing workshop, and the audience wanted to also test you and tell the rest of the audience more about you. And so we'll start. I'll ask you a question. It's this or that, and you answer based on that. So, pen or pixel?
Pen.
What's always in your sketch kit?
An eraser.
That's nice. Favorite sketching surface? Is it a notebook, a wall, tablet?
Mural, a wall.
A wall. Okay, nice.
A large white wall.
Yeah, I've seen that.
As big as possible.
That's nice. One visual that changed your way of thinking.
My own visual, or?
Yeah, I guess your own visual. While drawing it, it was an aha moment for you.
We just did a visual for First Nations community in Canada, which was all about explaining their own stories about their own culture and where they're coming from and where they were going. And that was where I realized the power of storytelling to actually help people understand their own culture and to some extent understanding their own identity.
That's interesting. The biggest myth about sketching in business?
I think the biggest myth with sketching is that people think it's for happy fews, that so-called talented people, where I genuinely believe that it's for everyone.
What's a dream collaborator you'd love to sketch with?
That would be Shepard Fairey, who is my favorite street artist, who is, I think, is one of the master at basically bring so many amazing ideas and very strong, powerful ideas into one visual.
Have you met him yet?
I was very lucky to attend one of his keynotes in Sydney, Australia, but I didn't have a chance to meet him.
I hope you met him soon.
I'd love to.
Okay. Before drawing, what's your warm-up exercise that you do?
Warm-up exercise. I say two. One for the mind, which is basically the best warm-up is to have the right setting as the most calm space with a nice atmosphere, dim light, nice music, piece of incense. That's one. And second warm-up is more the physical one, where like we said tonight, a bit of, moving your wrists and do like a totally unconstrained shapes, just to warm up because we're just not used to write anymore with pens. And so it needs a few minutes of warming up.
That's nice. A large audience or a smaller audience?
For
a workshop, let's say.
Small audience usually helps you to get a bit deeper into people writing, sharing their own stories, which I always find very, very the most interesting.
Nice. So last but not least, one word to describe your creative superpower.
One word.
Can be too عادي.
Me too. Can I go with three? My creative superpower, curiosity.
Thank you. Mishal, would you like to add anything?
I think this is beautiful, and it also gives us, glimpses of what happens in this space, and also breaks, like you said, the myth around don't really have to be born with the skill. It's something that you can pick up depending on if you have the desire and the passion to do that. And I think we saw that. We saw a bit of that in Abdullah's sketch as well.
Definitely see that in Abdullah's sketch.
And I think we want to be able to be advocates of this as well.
Yeah.
And so we look forward to collaborating more in the future, but also sharing this across with people who really feel that desire to be able to take maybe it's presentations for people who are working. For young students, it's maybe their project work or the capstone that they're working on. Everyone can pick and choose this in their own lives. And I feel, especially with how visual this is, our brains, I'm pretty sure there's some scientific fact behind it around how we process and, most importantly, remember that information for a longer time. So thank you so much for this collaboration. We really appreciate your time and your energy in this.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.